Welcome to the Yoga Connection with Zorananda. The Yoga Connection is a deep dive into everything yoga. Follow along with Zorananda and his guests as they discuss yoga history, spirituality, different practices, and the many misconceptions that have followed along throughout the years of yogic tradition. Hello and welcome to the Yoga Connection. My name is Zorananda and I am joined today with my music producer and mentor, John Atonic. He's owner of Soundhaus Productions, where he's a music producer, licenser, publisher, and just a wizard guitarist. So today, we're fully set up after an hour plus tinkering and making sure that we can have all of our mics set up and guitar set up. So not only are we going to talk about life and yoga and spiritual practices, we're going to talk about music. We're going to play some music as well, just improv and kind of pick apart what we're doing and go on a journey with it. So
yeah, thanks Zoran for having me. It's my pleasure to be here today.
It's my pleasure too, in your own house.
Uh-huh.
In your awesome studio where all this can happen.
Yeah, well, like Zoran said, it was quite a challenge getting everything set up because we haven't done this at my place. I should have just went to his place where everything was set up, ready to do it. But we decided we wanted to do it in my studio, so here we are.
Yeah. It just makes setting up with the guitars easier. So you have like the mixing board, you have everything. And yeah, so, this conversation is going to be free flow to a degree of not really planning anything, but just having a good idea of just what is going to come through inspirationally. So this is the Yoga Connection, some of the questions that I'll ask my guests is like, what is your practice? Do you have a spiritual practice? And, how'd you get into it? And I think there is an episode with John that we did a couple years ago now. And so we did go into a lot of stuff there, but there are some new things that you're into. So
yeah, as far as going back into thinking about yoga, I used to practice yoga quite diligently in my early 20s and for some time, and never really kept it up after that. It was certainly beneficial health-wise for me. But recently, over the past 10 years, focusing more, and before that got more into weightlifting and getting myself strong, because I've always been like, a really weak a pussy,
yeah.
and just wanting to have some strength. So that's been my main focus over the past few years. I've increased my strength quite a bit, lifting weights and trying different systems of weight training. I discovered a breathing technique that it was quite interesting. It's all about how you can be more CO2 tolerant and how to deal with stress. And the guy who teaches this, it's a website called shiftadapt.com, shiftadapt.com. And he has this, he trains a lot of like mixed martial artists and things like that. And since over the years, I've been studying Wing Chun Kung Fu, which I find very interesting, and along that with that, some Qigong that I do as well. And the emphasis on the Wing Chun is really not about stretching and how high you can kick or anything like that. It's all about like close quarters combat and self-defense. So the how the breathing techniques work in with that, there's several different ways that I practice. First, as far as the concept goes, the gears, 5 gears of breathing. So when you're engaged in some kind of activity, this is what a lot of the mixed martial arts artists that he trains do when they're fighting. So the 5 gears are basically, the first gear is you're breathing in with your nose and out with your mouth, and you're basically at a state of rest. Gear number 2 is where you're taking sharp increases through your nose, like, and then breathing out through your nose again. As your aerobic activity increases, then you need to go to the next gear. So the next gear is sharp increase through your nose, and then a sharp exhale through the nose again. So that would be gear number 3. As your aerobic continues to increase, then the next gear is sharp increase through the nose, and then a hard exhale through the mouth. And then the last final gear is inhale through the mouth and exhale through the mouth. When you're at that point, you're almost totally exhausted. And it's when you're in the fighting arena, when you notice your opponent is now doing that, is in gear 5, that's the time to attack, because they have exhausted their aerobic capacity at that point, and they can't deal with the CO2 anymore. So when you get to gear 5, you need to try to get back to gear 1 as fast as possible. So if you're at gear 5, you want to try to avoid your opponent and try to to back off and try to get back to that gear number 1 where you're back to a neutral cardio. For the sake of clarity, I'm not into mixed martial arts fighting. I'm just giving an example of how this is used, and how I apply that into my training is very similar. Like when I'm working on my wooden dummy techniques, I'll just go to an extreme level of repeating certain moves on that dummy. Or if I'm doing a weightlifting and I'm doing a bench press or whatever, and I'm noticing going up through the gears of breathing, I'll push it up to where now I'm at gear 5, and that's pretty much where I've trained to the point of failure, and then it's like, okay, now you can stop. So, and in doing that, I seem to be able to go further in my cardio extreme than I had been before, realizing learning these new techniques. So it's really helpful in in going past certain like plateaus in your trainings. The other way I use it is, which is another idea that they incorporate into that breathing, where they call pattern breathing. So for example, and I use this in the morning and at night as I'm lying in bed to relax and calm down. And the way that works is it's a simple. If you go onto their website, there's a test you can do to see, okay, where would you start? So the test I did, I would start at 7, the count of 7. So I made a little clock ticker on my mobile app, and I just start the ticker, so every tick is a second. So breathe in for 7 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, breathe out for 7 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, and then repeat. And once you get good at whatever level you're starting at, then you increase it to, okay, now breathing in for 10 seconds, hold it for 10, breathe out for 10, hold for 10. So that's called the one of the ways to do that breathing exercise, and to help your body deal with CO2. It's again part of CO2 tolerance. The more we can tolerate CO2, the better we are at extreme aerobic, intense activities. And this is also something they train deep sea divers and to be able to train them to handle the CO2 so they can dive deeper and stay underwater longer under high pressure diving, like these high pressure diving suits that they wear, and which is interesting as well. So, aside from trying to have a positive attitude in my daily life and try to kind of be focused on, okay, what's my goal for this year? Now we're in a new year, but at the same time, don't get so hyped up on the goal, because again, it's the processes that you need to do to achieve those goals is where you want to get the dopamine effect. You don't want just to, I made new resolutions this year and I'm going to do all this and I feel so excited about it and rah, 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 like I just been a Tony Robbins program. And then after a week of working out at the gym, it's like, oh, I'm too tired now. I don't want to do it because now, you've given yourself the dopamine reward before you've even started on the process of accomplishing that reward.
Yeah.
So we have to get to the point of, and I'm talking to myself here, let's find that dopamine reward in the process of doing the things that we need to do. That sometimes there are things we don't want to do or things that are painful to do, but we still have to give ourselves that reward in the process of doing those things. Like, yeah, it's bloody well hard to do 50 squats with, whatever amount of weight you're using or how many reps you need to do to get there. And by the end of the first set, you're just fucking, I'm done, man. But no.
I was just thinking too, like, when people hear about breathing techniques and they hear like, oh, deep sea water divers are, like they're doing things to like control the autonomic signaling from the brain that the body has too much CO2 in it. So that's what's really happening, right? Like the body is signaling you have a critical amount of CO2, but it's not, right? You can change the signaling by utilizing these breathing techniques. But then people are going to ask themselves, well, I don't deep sea dive. I'm not a UFC fighter. I'm not doing extreme things. I work in an office, like I work at the grocery store. I just do normal things. But to look at what capacity we all have to deal with stress, that technique is going to work regardless. So even if you just have a normal life where, like you're not doing anything extreme, but you're still going to run into problems. You're still going to have stressors. You're going to be in traffic and someone cuts you off and you almost get into an accident and you're like, and you're just breathing erratically because you're just so angry that this technique, you can map where you've suddenly jumped to in the gears. You can be like, right. Oh my God, I'm in gear 3 suddenly. Okay, I got to get back to gear 1, and you're just like, and you're utilizing it. So that's my approach with how to adapt like a spiritual practice in, where it's not about pushing to an extreme, right? It's just, you're a normal person in your life. How can you then utilize it for the normal things that happen, Like,
and I think people look at spiritual practices and they have some end goal in mind as to, it's after doing this for 20 years, I'll reach some state of enlightenment. Well, again, you're setting yourself up for, because way back in my early 20s, I joined a cult and learned a meditation and all this stuff. I joined the wrong cult, by the way. I should have went with Ram Dass because that was all about, sex and orgies and stuff. But anyway, I joined the cult where you had to poverty, chastity, and obedience, and what was I think I just kind of went blank there. Where was I going with this?
Just like living a normal life and
so
like
you
adopting
have
spirituality.
Yeah, and so you have this goal, like, if I keep doing this meditation and whatever, these 4 techniques, I'm going to become enlightened, in 20, 30 years or whatever. And it's like, and, for so many people, that doesn't happen. Like, what is enlightenment anyway? Like, that's a good question. And my answer to that would be, well, enlightenment is just knowing who you are. Like, knowing what your strengths are, knowing what your weaknesses are, knowing how you self-sabotage yourself, knowing how you obsess over things, like just knowing who you are as a total person and trying to make the best of that. Like, how much more enlightened can you be? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we kind of can't help but put stark expectations on ourselves. And I think that's what drives us into extremes. So even in if you're a chess player, if you're a mathematician, if you are a home builder, like it doesn't matter. There's this impetus to like take it to the greatest level, right? And some people just don't have that. And so when they look at spirituality, you either have the group of people who take it and just cherry pick the things that they want just for the convenience of where they're at in their life, and then that's it. And then you have the people who just will go to an extreme and they'll seek out what enlightenment is at any cost, right? And then
and either of those is fine. There's nothing.
yeah,
We're not knocking either of those approaches, but at the same time, it's like, what are your expectations? And in the process of doing either one of those, what are you learning from it?
yeah. And so I think that goes into then like these practices and these, say, for example, just like breathing techniques, that you can utilize the techniques and actually go into a profound depth within them without going to extreme of changing your life. And I think this is what people are put off, is that especially with social media, there are so many like spiritual influencers and they have all these offerings. And they have retreats, they have festivals, they have workshops, they have seminars, and so like I think it can be intimidating to look at just your normal life and then to look at this person who's telling you that your normal life isn't the life that you want, And then they'll say, okay, if you do these practices and you do this work with me, I will get you to let go of that life and to like level up into something greater than you are, right? But when you actually look into yoga, like there's nothing that says that in yoga, like actually. Like yoga doesn't say that. Like yoga is like just do the practice. It doesn't say, it'll say that there are results of like nirvana, but it's not telling you that you have to abandon everything in order to get nirvana.
Yeah,
right?
live in that poverty, chastity, obedience, and live in an ashram and give up everything, or go up on a mountain like that. Yeah, it reminds me of another funny thing I saw just a few days ago on Instagram. A guy was promoting this. He was standing underneath a little something that was pouring water on his head, and he was saying how by pouring water over your head opens up the crown chakra. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, and how did you come to that conclusion? And I'm thinking like, yeah, okay, so if I pour water, get my my was it the shower head in my shower and squirt it up my butt, is that going to open up my kundalini? Like kundalini is going to explode to the moon? Like,
yeah. And then everybody who showers every day and they're like, I've had water pouring on my head every day.
Yeah, you think
20 minutes a day.
You think
like,
masses would be enlightened now because
yeah.
their crown chakra, got opened up having showers every day. But it's things like that where you gotta like question everything is my philosophy.
So the thing I want to be clear on, so like in yoga, there's an obvious thing of like to get to the depths of meditation, there is a level of renunciation, right? But that stuff was written at a time from a whole other world, right? India, right? And so their caste system and their society was built up so that you don't run off into the cave and you don't run off into the jungles when you're 16 because you can't fit in to the world, And so how their system is set up is like you start as a student, then you're into business and work, then you're into family, then you go into asceticism. So you like fulfill the contract of your life as a human, and then there's a point where you've done all that, so then you go. But now we're in a totally different era where we're receiving this information that was kept secret. So a lot of what we know about yoga and spirituality and occultism 1,000 years ago, that was all secret. The yogis didn't have anything written down. It was all verbal, and it was only within small groups of disciples that like the master handpicked, you know? And so to live in an era where you have the internet and you have access to all of it shows the shift that you can live in the world and you can have this spirituality at any point, and you can work on your spirituality without leaving the world now. That it's not set up that way. And so when you have people on social media that are coming up with all these new things, and they're telling you that your 9-to-5 job is a waste of time, you should be getting into crypto, you should be getting into Amazon selling, you should be getting into blah, 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 right?
Right. Yep.
It's only to bolster them up.
And just sign up for my course.
Yeah.
And pay me, and
the
I'll
thing
show you
is,
how to do all that.
There are people who are authentic, and they do have great courses, and they're creating a really good community. But where I kind of like butt heads is like, okay, I'll do your course, but I don't want to be told I should quit my job now. Like, I don't want to be told that I need to move to this city because that's where everything is happening. You know, like, with the internet and with the technology, I can do everything from here. Like, I don't need to leave anywhere, right? And I don't need to jeopardize, you know, connections with family. And so it, like, there's this back and forth of, like, well, there are people in the world who don't have family. They don't have brothers and sisters. They don't have parents. They don't have nieces and nephews, you know, like, it's just them and their girlfriend. And so the appeal to quit everything and just move is so much stronger because you're not accountable to anybody, right? So when you're accountable to people, where what I lean into is like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm not leaving and living on Bali. I'm just in fucking Edmonton, Alberta, where it's cold as shit. But I have accountability to family and friends, and I love it here. And so I would rather appeal and say, hey, I use my spiritual practice to ground me where I am right here. And so you can do that too. And you can see how when you adopt these breathing techniques and you do it from where you are, you just start where you are, you'll see how it affects everything around you. Because it starts to change your presence, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying everybody should go to shiftthathat.com and do the techniques I'm talking about. There's all kinds of, you know, other techniques you can do.
Yeah.
Zoran has shown me some other amazing techniques that we did for a while that are totally different, but probably end up with the same result in the end. You know? So there's not just one way to do that. Just the way and sometimes I'll do some of those techniques as well. Like I forget what you call them, but there's one where
they're wordy.
Yeah,
because it's all Sanskrit, right?
Yeah, and you know, it reminds me of I recently pulled out some old cover songs that I used to perform on just me and my guitar and singing, and the U2 song I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For was one of them, and I just looked up the video for that, the original video for that, and I didn't really occur to me when I first saw that video, but when I saw it again just recently, it was like the whole video was filmed in Las Vegas, inside a casino, and outside on the street too as well. And you got it, and I just had to think, God, you're singing a song about I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and you're in a casino. Like, dude, you're not gonna find it in a casino. That's for damn sure. I just thought that was funny, that why they chose that setting for that song. You know, where the opening line is, I've climbed mountains and all that, you know, like. Yeah. So anyway, kind of diverge from that. So yeah, any other question you got for me?
Um, yeah. Um, I think let's start getting into music stuff.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So for the last for the last 2 years, yeah, we wrapped up an album, and it's in the last kind of stage of mixing and mastering. Um, oh, what do I want to get at here? Um, oh
Yeah,
man,
it's been a long process,
yeah.
and our release strategy is not to release the whole. It's not actually a full album. It's like an EP, like 6 songs. Not to release them all at once because unless you're a real high profile artist, uh, you don't want to be releasing albums as a kind of an independent newcomer on the block sort of thing because people's attention span is the reason why. Because if you release 6 songs all at once, like you're not giving them anything to like look forward to if they like one song, right? If you release one
Mm,
song at a time, let's say once one song every month or so, then if they really like what they hear, then and you'll say, well, another one's coming out soon. You'll keep up with the newsletter, and they'll look forward to hearing the next song, right?
yeah,
Instead of just dumping a whole bunch of this on them, and then they don't even listen to all 6 right off the bat if they don't like the first one that they listen to or
yeah.
something like that, right? So and it's not something I invented. I took that from other professional producers' uh, advice
Yeah.
for new independent artists.
And
Like,
it's just the way of the market,
right,
right?
and
With social media and streaming.
right, and plus to do a whole album, to release a whole album at once, I mean, it's going to cost you a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Like if you just work on one song at a time from start to finish, get it done, and if you're working with a good producer and you know what you want, you've already got a good scratch track that you recorded on your guitar or your piano with your vocal to give to your producer, and you've written out a chart. If you don't know how to do a chart, learn how to write charts, and
Yeah.
you come with that to your producer, and it'll speed up the process way more. So you need to learn how to do as much of the pre-production, which is what the chord progression is, what your guitar part's going to do maybe, and it doesn't even have to be, well, this is the final guitar part. It could just be strumming the basic
Yeah.
chords of the song, but for sure to nail down what's the lyrics, what's the melody, how you're singing it,
Yeah.
and really get that nailed down before you go into studio, because you don't when you're in the studio, there's a whole new pressure there, especially
Yeah.
when you're paying by the hour to be there,
Oh yeah.
and you want to be totally prepared to go in there. Otherwise, the pressure of, oh, this is costing me money, and then you're not totally prepared in what you want to do. Um, it's
Yeah, and John's saying this because of experience,
yeah,
because of the
yeah.
last 2 years of
'Cause
me showing up, and then John being like, "Okay, what do you have prepared?" And I'll be like, "I don't have shit prepared. We're gonna make it on the spot." And then
Yeah.
you just shake his head and be like, "Okay, well, let's do it." And then it would work out, and then we'd
Yeah.
laugh about it because
Yeah.
like guitar solos or yeah, the vocal part, like out of everything, the vocals was the hardest
Right.
for sure.
And it's also other artists I've worked with who, they come in, they're just not ready, and I'm like,
Yeah.
uh, no, let's.
Well, that's what happened because like I pitched the idea, and you're like, okay, well, let's test it out right now, and you put me on the spot, and you're like, you're not even ready.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, you
mm-hmm.
need like, and that was 2 years ago, like almost 3 years ago, and you even said you're like, it's gonna take 3 to 5 years, right? And so the last 2 years now, like going to third year is like has been a journey because all of that motivated me and pushed me to grow and learn and to like figure out what was like wrong, like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
to actually problem solve and to come up with solutions of like, okay, why can't I hear the different pitches and tones? Like, why is it hard for me to reproduce sounds on the spot? Like, and it's just combinations of like my brain and just learning new things, right? And drilling and and practicing. So when I think about everything that we've recorded and where my voice is now, I'm like, I I wish we could re-record everything, but we can't, right? You just
Yeah,
gotta move forward, right?
and that's the thing too. Like, having not have been a vocalist ever,
Yeah.
all of a sudden now writing vocal material and learning how to sing, that's you're in quite a different place than someone who, let's say, has the natural ear to pick up, since they were a little kid, and
Yeah.
had been singing in school or in church or whatever to their favorite pop songs, and maybe has almost perfect pitch and just like is
Yeah.
crazy, has crazy talent to begin with. Not saying you're not crazy talented, uh, and for them to
Well, it's subjective, right? Like
yeah,
my talent is in guitar because that's what I did. I spent 20 years playing guitar, right? And so, and the way that I approached it was like, well, for me, it develops a story, right? Where like, yeah, I could have been that kid that was put into choir because I went into choir when I was like in grade 4, like 6, 8, but I did it for a couple years and then, became a stoner. So, but like it's, instead of being that kid that was like put into everything and to have like developed a perfect sound by the time I'm like 14, but then who am I going to sound like? I'm going to sound like fucking everybody. I'm going to have like that Jason Mraz voice. I'm going to have that pop rock voice. And so I think what is unique in my story is coming at a later time where I'm developing my voice in like through the roughness, through the like the hardship of like literally retraining the muscles rather than when you're a kid and you're so malleable that it's just like you can like I was playing guitar at my brother's house and with my niece and she's 5 years old and I'm playing and I'm like let's just make something up and we just pick random words and we're like singing and she just is getting it immediately and she's not even trying and she's like like she's singing like with what I'm playing and it sounds so good.
Yeah, like because I mean, music is just another language, and
Yeah.
as we all know, we can learn 3 or 4 different languages when we're between the age of 2 and 5, no problem. And
Yeah.
music is one of those. And when you're and I didn't start learning that language till I was a teenager, really.
Yeah, me too.
But
Yeah.
you're in a totally different starting place than someone who started at 2 or 4 or 5 or whatever and has been singing for 20 years and now picked up the guitar and wrote some songs and now wants to go record. Like they are so much farther ahead than you and I could ever be.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, and that's why I felt like my time with you is like a mentorship too, right? Like I'm learning so much from you, and then to have someone be like, "No, you're not ready," and then to face that, because a lot of people would give up and they'd be like, "Fuck you," and then they'd leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like to hear that and to be like, "Okay, I need to make a choice here, and I want to keep going, so I have to take what you're saying and not take it personally and to do something with it." And so then there's like what you're saying earlier with the dopamine, right? Now, because I made that choice, I have to take vocal lessons. I have to sing every day. I have to do exercises. When I am learning a song and I nail it, I get this huge dopamine rush, and it's like, man, I feel so good, and it solidifies the connection, because now things have clicked where like if I'm playing and I'm just humming along, I'm just staying in key, like I'm not having to think about it, like the muscle memory is there, and I can just like sing basic notes, right? And so what I found is like because we've been working together for like 5 years now or more. And like getting into year 6, and so there's things that I've like picked up along the way of not only like challenging myself to sing, but then also how I'm writing, and how I'm showing up. Because yeah, there'd be times where I'm like, no, I don't have any lyrics. We're gonna make it up on the spot. And then now I'm like, no, no, no. We have to have a system where I show up with the full song, and ideally with the scratch track already recorded, and then we're working on it from there. And so I've taken all of that into consideration of like even you telling me, "Hey, start with the basic chords. What are the 4 chords you're going to use? What are the 3 chords you're going to use basically throughout the song? Write the lyrics and the melodies from there." And and I've been doing that. And so the newest song that I just wrote feels the best. Like, I don't think it's my best song out of all the ones that we've done, because the ones that we've done, I think some of them are just better, but lyrically and how I feel singing it, like there's so much more ease. Like when I wrote the lyrics, when I wrote the guitar parts, and when I started singing with the guitar parts, the melody just came out. Like I didn't have to think, okay, well, I'm playing this chord and this chord. It was just so much more intuitively felt that I would sing, and I'd be like, oh, okay, so if I'm going from like C to whatever D7th, I'm gonna sing this note and this note because it fits in those, right? I'm already hearing it. I'm not having to like it used to take so long for me to think and to like process it, but now it's like, oh yeah, that note and that note. Okay, move on.
Yeah, and for songwriters, singers out there who like, okay, well, where would I start my melody? Like, okay, let's say, for simplicity's sake, playing a C chord. Okay, well, you've got 3 choices. The strongest starting point is the actual C note, the root of the chord, right?
Yeah.
La, I saw you today. And then I went up to the next melody, a chord note, right? So, or you could start on the E, which would be the 3rd. I saw you today, right? Or you could start on the G, which is the next. I saw you today, right? So you've got your basic triad, 1, 3, 5. Pick one of those to start on, and see where it goes. And if your next chord is going to be a G, I saw you today, you look so beautiful. Go to another chord tone, to the next chord tone. That's the next note closest to the note you just ended on the first chord. Those kind of ideas. Like, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because what do you hear most music that's popular is it's so simple.
Yeah.
A lot of melodies are just da 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 da. You look so hot in that bikini. Like it's just so stupid simple. I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit, but still, it's like you get the point. Start out really simple. You can always embellish your melodies once you get in the studio and you experiment a little bit with them.
Because that's what I was thinking. Even like once we have all these songs kind of wrapped up, mixed and mastered, and in the line of like promoting and like the kind of like the machine is going, right? That when we start working on the next song, I already have it fully done, right? And so once we have it up, then when we listen to it, then we go in, oh, maybe it'll sound cool with this little riff in here, and like, well, what if we took this out and put this instead? Then you have the time to do that stuff, rather than the way that we did it was like by the time we got to editing it, it was like, fuck, we've worked on this song for like months, it seems. And and so having like the time restraint of like, okay, we have a month to do this, we have 20 hours, we'll have the month to do it, let's rock it out. And so then it's like almost like an assembly line for music, and like you have your time, it's slotted out, but what I did like is in the moment inspiration and spontaneity. Like that's what I loved, is when I would show up and we'd be listening to it, and like we'd work out the solo in the spot, and it'd work, and it would sound really good, right? Like I like that element too. So as much as I'm like, okay, here's like the skeleton of it, here's like the basic of it. Now, like, where is there room for improvisation?
Oh, and for sure that has to be a part of the production as well.
Yeah.
Is that's even with singing vocals or doing guitar solos or whatever, little things, mistakes happen, and sometimes I didn't mean to do that, but it sounds fucking great.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap.
Yeah.
We're keeping that.
And even like this new song that I just wrote over the last like week, there's a couple spots that I just don't know. I'm going from a D, like I'm ending on a D, and I have to get back to A minor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pretty big jump going back, right? Like and so when I think about, and it's from basically the end of the chorus into the next verse, it's like that's where you provide space, and then that's where you add flavoring to lead from the D back to the A minor, right? And so if it's just by itself, right? Like especially with the lyrics and everything, like it's a total vibe change, but you can have a little bit of phrasing that like links the vibe chain of like what the chorus sounded like, how it's like has more energy, and then how it comes back to the verse where it's just going to be like slower and more melodic, right?
Or maybe in that case, since we're in A minor, going from a D to an A minor is a 4-1 cadence.
Yeah.
And maybe in context of the song, I haven't heard it yet, it doesn't sound really that cool. Maybe you want to use a different chord going as a passing chord after the D, like for example maybe
yeah,
or something like that, going up to an E7 or some kind of altered E.
Yeah, and that could be a second guitar, right?
Yeah.
Like that might not even be what I'm doing, right? But it's something that's in there that's like kind of that flavors it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to just clarify a little bit more about how Zorananda's production process works, and that he doesn't have a band, which trying to do this with a band, it just it adds just a whole nother level of complexity and problems.
Oh yeah.
When let's say even just with a 3-piece band, a bass, drums, guitar, and one of them is singing, for example. Again, the band has to come prepared to know their parts and to have the song pre-produced as much as possible, and even probably maybe even a demo recording for the producer to listen to see, okay, what are they going for here?
Mm-hmm.
In Zoran's and I's case, since there's no band, I'm acting as the band as well. So I get a scratch track, and then from the scratch track, I'll do a MIDI chart and do a basic MIDI drum beat to his scratch track, and it'll just be a basic drum beat, nothing fancy, no big fills or solos or anything, just basic drum beat to keep the time, and basically to maybe it'll be a 2-bar drum pattern, just to create like, okay, what kind of groove are we going for, and we'll decide on that, and then once that's done, just copy paste 2-bar pattern, and that's it for the drums for now, and that should take no more than an hour to do. Then I add a scratch bass, MIDI bass track to that, so I know the chords, and then I'll come up with a bass track that kind of that doesn't get in the way of the vocal line or stuff like that, something that, and that's the thing you always got to keep in mind with parts getting in the way of the vocals. Like if there's a vocal part, you don't want to have this guitar doing a bunch of soloing stuff while the vocal guy's singing. Like that.
And we ran through those like lots with these songs, right? Because I'd come up with this riff, and then we'd put the vocals on, and then like you have to remove your ego in it and be like, well, something has to change. Like either. And it's usually the guitar. It's usually that can't be in here while the vocals are going.
Mm-hmm.
And
sometimes the most powerful way to arrange a vocal is where there's virtually nothing else going on, just like maybe even just a drum and a bass, and the vocal starts with just a drum and a bass, and maybe you've got a guitar in the background doing a simple chord or something like that, and then building it up to that. But getting back to what I was saying about our my role as a producer is also to come up with the arrangement. Once I know if an artist has a reference track of a famous band that they like, that I want my music to sound kind of like this band, then I have a good idea of how to produce that. And that's usually not very difficult to do. But if the artist has no idea what he or she wants to sound like, then it's really makes my job harder. So if you're going to the studio and you've got, let's say all you have is your scratch track of your song and your vocal, but you have no idea how you want to sound like. You want it to sound like a country genre? Do you want it to be a jazz thing? Do you want it to be alternative rock or whatever? If you don't know that, then figure that out beforehand, so that it makes your producer's job a lot easier. Yeah. And even, like I said, have a reference track of somebody to listen to that. Okay, I see what you want to go for. No problem, we can do that. And then that's my job to create those tracks, the drum track on the MIDI, and then the drum track for the bass. And maybe we want to add some other keyboard parts, like some synth pads or whatever, stuff like that. But that comes later, once the vocal track and the vocal and everything is pretty much nailed down. Then we add those other parts just to help support that vocal track. Yeah. And what else? And then once final pre-production is all finalized, then I'll go back and I'll learn the bass part that I created in MIDI and actually record it in with a real bass guitar. Yeah. Because that adds so much more life to the whole thing. And if the budget, if in an artist's budget can afford it, they could hire a drummer to like what we did. To record a drum track to it. And I gotta admit, in my studio, it's not the ideal place to record a drum track, because it's in a basement and it's just a low ceiling, and there's we've tried different things to get a good drum sound. We did manage to pull off a pretty good drum sound for Zorananda's album here. We lucked out in my basement. Yeah, because it all has to do with how the drums are being played as well, not just how you set up all your drum mics, but how the drummer is playing it. And for a drummer in the studio, it's a whole different way of playing compared to in a live show. Live show, they're smashing the hell out of their cymbals. Yeah. In a studio, you've got to almost barely touch your cymbals, but hit your shells really hard in order to not get so much bleed into your shell mics from the cymbals. That's the biggest problem. So there's a lot of drummers now that have their own studio set up and have worked all that shit out, and you can just send them your like a rough stereo mix of your track, and they'll record the drums in their studio, and then they can send it back to your producer, and they can finish it off, kind of thing. There's that possibility too, but not a lot of people want to spend $100 an hour going into a pro commercial studio. Like, there's several of them in Edmonton that are actually very nice. Yeah. Like at Department 9 with Stu. Yeah. Yeah, so a lot goes into music production that people just have no clue about.
Oh my God. And even when I asked you, because we finished our third album, Opening, which was instrumental. And I was like, man, I want to sing. I want to level up. Like, that's where I want to go. And so then pitching a rock album, I had no idea. And then over the course of the 2 years, it's like, as much as I learned, there's still, like, I think I maybe know 2% of the 98% of what you did, of everything you did in Reaper and what's the other program?
Reason.
Yeah. And then, charting it out, and, there's so much on the back end just within software that is just a whole fucking world.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and everybody go to Zoran's website and listen to Mystical Rhythms.
Yeah.
If you haven't yet, like, check it out.
Yeah, so, and all my music, I found out too, it's all on YouTube. All of the music is on YouTube. I didn't know that. So it's like, it's that thing when you look up an artist and it says topic.
Right, yeah, YouTube creates those themselves.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you can find, and it's on my music page. Like, it's like Zorananda music. So it's not just the topic. It's like I think it's through, CD Baby. It's like YouTube is one of the options.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Napster, which is hilarious. And yeah, and
you can also find John Atonic on YouTube. There's some stuff I did past. I don't really put new things on there recently. But you can check out some of the stuff I've done. Mostly my original stuff and some other. There was an interesting scoring competition that I entered. That I was.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that.
The what was it called now? It was Hans Zimmer scoring competition for this TV series. What the hell was that called? I can't remember. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah. And yeah, so maybe let's play something.
Yeah, let's do some music.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what are you thinking?
Where should we start?
Let's do when we were at open mic and we did those like jazz. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So we did D minor 7. To a G7 flat 9.
Oh my god, I gotta remember these.
Or a G13 flat 9. So just start with a G7. If you start with a G7 and then you raise the G note on the bottom up a semitone, that's your flat 9. So you're putting a flat 9 on the bass.
Yeah.
Which is a really, like, it's not a very common thing, especially in popular music, but in jazz it's it's pretty common. Like the bass player will play the flat 9 and then the upper part of the chord that would be the 13th. So your notes for the 13 is an F to a B to an E. Just those 3 notes. To an E. There you go. So now just figure out a way to finger that with. Yeah, there you go, and that's your G13 flat 9.
There we go.
Yeah, and then what were we doing next? And to a C major 7 after that one. So it's basically a 2-5-1 progression, with the altered 5 being a flat 9 to a C major 7. Yeah. Yeah. And then there's you can more advance that to add even more passing chords, like the D minor 7. You could go to a D minor 9 flat 5, and then the G13 flat 9. Then you go to a G7 flat 9. So you're just lowering the 13 down to the 5, and then a C major 7. You go from the C major 7 to a C major 9. Should be something like that. So just listen, I'll play it and you just hear.
Well,
so this is the basic 3 chords, and you add in the passing chords. So D minor 7, D minor 9 flat 5, D G13.
I probably won't even do
flat
the
9.
passing notes, the passing chords.
Yeah, I'm just doing it for example, and
Yeah.
then to the G7 flat 9, C major 7, C major 9, and then call that a C sharp diminished, or you could call that a C7
Yeah.
flat 9.
So when I
depending
said
on-
John is a
and then
fucking wizard on
back to the-
guitar, like this is what I mean.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So
And we'll hear it. I'm already fucking out.
Oh, no F sharps in this chord.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Oh man. Yeah, I love it so much. Like, yeah, I really feel music and guitar is in and of itself, music is like its own spiritual practice. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can look at everything that's become dogmatic and systematic, but when you look at what music inherently does, it produces it just produces a whole other state of being that connects you to like your higher self or God or whatever. And I remember this quote that I read. I don't remember who the producer was, or not producer, a composer and pianist, but he says he was asked like, why does he make music? And he says, I make music for the people, I make music for myself, and I make music for God that nobody hears.
I think it was Bach that said that.
Was it Bach?
Could have been.
Yeah. And that just like always stuck with me, because then when I sit down and I play by myself, a lot of the time I'm improvising. And there's just this noticeable flow state that I get into where I'm playing melodies that I'll never be able to reproduce. Like even if I can sit down and record it and be like, "Oh, sweet." But sometimes I just don't even want to. It's like this is just fleeting. This is just to go out in my like reverence for this fucking thing that's in my hands and what I'm connecting to. That's it. It's gone.
Oh, so much of this happened in the past, especially, you smoke a little weed and you start jamming around and oh, I wish I would have recorded that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the reason why it's a spiritual practice in itself is because it puts you in the moment. You can't be anywhere else except in the moment with this note right here, and where am I going next? Okay, right there. It's like you're always just in the moment. And
yeah.
I mean, you could say that anything that keeps you in the moment is a spiritual practice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's powerful, right? Like, it's changed my life. And it's something, and I noticed that we have cultural commitments, right? So we have like marriage, we have our jobs, career, but there's something about making a commitment that's scary, right? Like when people get married, they have this anxiety, right, about it because of the thought of forever until death do us part, right? And then even like my brother one day, because like my brother and I work together in a company, and like he was like, "Oh yeah, like I'm setting us up so that you have, something for the next 25 years of your life." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man? 25 fucking years?" And it hit me, and I'm like, "Oh, because like as an adult, like that becomes your reality of like looking long term for things." And so guitar was the one thing at an early age I knew, and I was fully prepared and comfortable with taking it on as a lifelong endeavor. I was like, I have my first guitar tattooed on my leg. It's like, and so as scary as it is, how it makes sense as a spiritual practice is because you won't stop learning. Like even the greatest musicians, like you were telling me the other day, like just yesterday, you were like, "Yeah, man, like I fucking learned like a chord that I know, but in a whole new place.
Yeah,
that I never fucking knew.
A sharp 11 chord, which, my that's the way I played it for forever.
Yeah, and that's on like the higher like 4 strings, right?
Yeah, but I learned a new voicing for it that I'd never seen before, which goes like that. So you're adding a 7th and then the 3rd there and then the sharp 11 on top.
Yeah.
And that works really well with, I was playing around with that, going from a E minor 7 to E minor 9 flat 5, and then again to that A13 flat 9 chord, to the A7 flat 9, and then from there to the sharp 13, which is really cool. Sorry, and I still haven't got the fingering quite down on it yet, but that's how it sounds. And then to this C major 7, which is a really neat, interesting harmony change.
To get the resolve, right?
Yeah. Because every chord is like, okay, I'm playing this chord now. Where's my next chord, and where's the next chord I'm playing leading me to? Like when you go into more complicated, like kind of jazz stuff. I mean, with pop music, it's like A minor, F, okay, well, C, G. Like it's a pretty standard 6, 4, 1, 5 progression that you don't really have to think of, okay, well, where's the F leading to? Well, we just know it's going to there, right? And then the C is going there. And then we're back to the beginning again. Another really common pop music progression is just 6, 5, 4, and then to a dominant 3 leading back to, or just the most common
Yeah.
progression in the world.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
right? Stairway to
Yeah.
Heaven. Sweet. Yeah.
But that's just another thing about when you're. It's good to know, like, you don't have to know like the whole Walter Piston harmony book, 600-page harmony book from start to finish. Like, if you just understand some of the most basic things, like you've got your scale degrees in C major scale. So C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7, and you're back to 1. And then knowing how to okay, I'm trying to learn a new song and I'm hearing, okay, I recognize that as a 6 to a 4, right? And knowing the number system, that way you can easily just communicate that with other musicians. Like, yeah, it's a 6-2-1-5 progression in the key of E.
Yeah.
E.
And that's the next thing for me too, is that we're talking about, especially now that like we're going to open mics, and on Sundays at River City Revival, shout out to them, that they have like an open jam with a sweet house band. So then even like showing up with the charts and being like, okay, here's the song, here's the chart. So even if they just look at it and they go, oh, okay, they just see the chords, they might not even have to see the chart again,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Dennis and like Nikki Dubs and Aaron, like, they're fucking awesome. Like, and they even played with me when I didn't have the charts, and I was like, I just showed them riffs, and I'm like, yeah, this is just what I'm going to play, follow along. And they're like, yeah, and it's impressive, right? But to have like a good flow and a good jam, and to really produce something awesome, right? Having the charts are going to be a game changer. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you something that I made up.
Okay.
And for you to play along with. It's pretty simple. So, and then this is where it changes.
Whoa, that's pretty complicated there. Yeah. So I got the first chord, A minor.
Yeah, A minor, E minor, G major.
Okay, so you're going to E minor, not a A7.
No,
or
E minor.
A9, I mean, because that could also be an A9. Like,
no, just E minor, and then G major, and
then to B minor. You went up to B minor. So okay, start again. A minor, E minor,
E minor, right to G major. Is that G major?
Yep.
Yep. And then to
to E minor 9. Okay.
Yeah. And then these two chords.
Okay, so D7 to B minor.
Yep. And then right back. And then to the E minor 9. And then to this. And then this. Yep. So then the groove sounds like this.
Okay, the only chord that kind of, I don't know, is that D7. That's kind of like, to me, I don't like it. Maybe just a straight D instead of a D7. See how that sounds. No, right there where you play a D7.
I don't do that because I like how it sounds between these three chords.
Because the problem with the D7 is it's the 5 of G.
Is that a problem though?
I mean, it's just in technical terms.
Yeah.
Like,
What if I did?
because it's not. I'm just thinking about. Because we want to. We're establishing that the key is E minor or G major relative, right? So G at 1 sharp, right? Which all the chords fall within that, no problem. But so again, it was A minor. So we're going from 2 to 6. So 2, 6. And then what was the next one again? And then 1, right? 2, 6, 1. And then run that by me again. 2, 6, 1, 6. And then 5. So yeah, okay, so from here. So that's what I'm saying. Just try the D major there. But the more I think about it, maybe. Yeah, the D7 in a way, like it does in a way kind of act as a cadence to the B minor 7, like. In a weird way, it does work.
I know. That's why I like it.
But it's not a choice I would make. Maybe a D9 would sound even better.
This is where you're just going to have to put your genius at play and see where you can play along with.
But, this kind of thing is hard to improvise over, this kind of thing. Because there's... but I'll give it a shot now that I'm more familiar with it. So
okay,
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically what I did there sucked, but like I said, those kind of changes they're actually very challenging to, like for changes like that, you want to figure out guitar parts. You don't want to just go jam, like it doesn't work unless you're like, I mean, I'd have to work with this a lot more to be able to just freely improvise over those changes because they are very unconventional, even for jazz. It's unconventional, like if you were to consider it jazz.
And if I had a middle name, that would be my middle name. I'm just like
Zoran Unconventional.
Yeah, that's my other podcast. Oh man.
Yeah, man.
All right, maybe let's try one more. Let's if you want to start something else.
Throw something?
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one I it was originally breathe in the air. So I took all the chords to that and I came up with some jazz chords to create a new song based on the chord progression of that song. So similar to what we did before, except a few other changes. So starting at E minor 7 to that E minor 9 with the flat 5 there. So
if you could play a key over it, what could you play?
We're in 7. Fuck, I just went blank there.
Yeah.
So a D major.
D major
would be the scale. So E minor would be E Dorian scale. Has that C sharp, which is part of that A7 chord. So yeah, D major. But then the flat 9 or the flat 5 there, that adds an accidental chord that's not note that's not in the key of D.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of jazz, right?
Flavoring, yeah.
And then it does that new chord that sharp 11, 7, sharp 11, and then to a C major 7, C major 9, B minor 7, B minor 9, then to F major 7, to an F altered, to a G 13 flat 9, and then to D7. You could call that a D sharp diminished, and then back to the E minor 7. So it's a little more complicated there, but yeah.
Yeah. Something simple. Play something simple so I can solo
Let's
with
do
you.
something more simple. Okay, yeah. Let's go. Let's get something more standard. Okay. A minor to D minor. Sometimes you only need two chords for a song.
Yeah. So like C major,
So,
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No F sharp.
No.
Whoops, I played an F sharp, sorry. So I threw in another chord there, going to from the 4 to the 5 with a sharp 9. So E7 sharp 9.
played that after. Sick.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right. Yeah, I guess we can end it there. And yeah, I think there's a whole fucking world to discover, and that's a crazy thing about the music, like just the state of music today, right? And we've had this conversation before where it's like sometimes you wake up and you're like, fuck, why are we even doing this still? You know, like, but I think the advantage with like social media and stuff like that and just putting it out there is because we're not vying for like top 10 everything, right? Billboards, that the level of competition is actually pretty low. Like, people are going to hear this. People are going to share it. People are going to stumble upon the music, right? And so there's this book that I used to read when I was a kid. It was like a Disney book, and it was Donald Duck racing Goofy. And Donald Duck had this fucking race car, right? And Goofy had this like beat up little car. And Goofy would always say, slow and steady, steady and slow. That's the way we always go. Right? Steady and slow, slow and steady, steady and slow. That's the way we always go. And then like, because Donald Duck had this race car, he like booked it as fast as he could, and then he took a nap and like jumped on a train and like, you know, did all these things, and then he ended up losing to the guy who just in his car, staying on the road, staying in his lane, steady and slow, slow and steady, steady and slow. That's the way we always go, and ends up winning, right? So like, I think
that's an adaptation of the tortoise and the hare story.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. And so when I look at like our progression, there was like growing pains. You know, it's like kinks that you have to work out. And then now it's like, okay, now we work towards like setting up systems. And so that the music, when it does go out, it's out in a package, and it can, you know, it's promoted, it's, you know, there's like advertising and marketing, and so that it'll just go out to the people. And then because there's so many fucking people using social media and like these platforms, that gaining an audience and like gaining a fan base isn't actually, and it's like, it's not as hard as what it would have been in the past of the grind of
to go on tour forever.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, like we don't have a band. It's just you and I.
Yeah.
We make all the fucking music. And so there's this advantage of, okay, well, do we have to get a band? Do we have to do all these crazy live shows? Do we have to go on the road and do all these things? Or is it actually possible, like with Leah McHenry, like, can we just make music and put it out there and gain a fan base, and people love what they do, and it creates a demand over time? And, you know, as long as we are playing the game of like the system of, you know, when we upload, getting onto playlists, having content, putting out the content, and having fun with it.
Yeah, and the question for me, answer for me for the question, you know, I get up and why am I doing this? Is like, well, why not? And because I can, right?
Yeah.
And you just have to get out of your head, and it's taken me a while to really come to terms with that, is that, I'm not going to get rich and famous doing music. And most 99% of you out there doing that are going to fall into that same category. You're not going to get rich and famous doing it. Yeah. But you do it because you love it and because you can. And it's so accessible to you. And you know, whatever you can do to acquire a fan base and put yourself out there, great. But don't have expectations that, I'm going to quit my day job and go on tour. Like, no.
It's like I was saying earlier, like, I don't want to quit my day job, you know, like, and so if where my focus is and making money off of it is like figuring out the game and the system so that there is royalties that come in. There is, and it's like there is recognition for the music that we're putting out there. And the journey is, and I'd just like to wrap this up, like where my story is that I would rather show my progression of getting better through my music than just showing up the best and then going downhill. Because that's what happens to a lot of musicians. They like their first album is like first 2 or 3 albums are their best albums ever, and then you listen to the rest of their music and you're like, well, because you fucking did it and you made 3 banging albums with the best music you can ever make, everything after that is just repetition. It's just the same. Like I was listening to Styx earlier today, and I was like, man, they are competing with themselves.
Yeah.
That's what ends up happening. It's like you listen to their later albums and you're like, yeah, it's just, you can feel that they're trying to make hits like they did. And I would rather be the opposite way of like, I show my progression of getting better and better and better so that like the fan base comes along in this journey of like, the ones that really liked it, and I gain new ones, over time. And so then say if I have the opportunity, we do a show, like we meet a drummer and a bass player and another guitarist or something, or I hire a band, like say, like Dennis and Nikki, like say I'm playing open mics with them and I go, hey, I'm going to do a album release. Do you want to, like, we can hire you as a band? Like chances are they'll be like, yeah, sure. 'Cause we already play your fucking music. We already know it. And, yeah, and then I totally lost my train of thought, but, yeah, and to have fun with it, for sure. Yeah, and that there's no need for competition. Like that's what I've decided for myself. It's like I don't want to feel like I need to compete with other bands, and we can grow a fan base and do it within our own control, right? Because like I don't want to get recognized and then have a fucking record label come out to me and be like, oh, like we'll sign you for whatever, and then they just take control of my life. Like that's what happens. Like they literally take control of your life because you are plugged into their machine of touring artists, right? Record label comes up to you and they're like, oh yeah, we think you're fucking hot, man. Like, sign this contract. And then I'm just showing up on stage playing these songs and I'm like, is this what I wanted to do? And have no creative control. That's why with us, it's like, yeah, I can show you something, and if it doesn't work, you're there to just say, hey, like, when I play the bass, and when you play your chord, and when you have your vocal line here, there's a note that doesn't match up, so you have to change something. But it's not like, ooh, I don't like those lyrics, like, you should dress this way, because that's what's going to happen if I sign to a thing. They're like, well, we think you'd be better as a country artist. So here's some country songs, learn them, we're going to record them, and we're going to put that out, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm just being used. Where like here, like Brian's wrapping up a song called The Dream, which I think is like fucking awesome, right? And I'm so excited to hear it. And that wouldn't fly. Like when I first showed you the riffs, you're like, oh my God, how are we going to fucking do this? And then by the end of it, we're like, like that was like, I think that was the benefit of writing all the music first and not doing the lyric stuff. Because then when we came back to it to edit it, we're like, oh, we can change this and this and this and this. And all of a sudden it just like something came out that we didn't have before. And it turned into like a whole new thing, right? Yeah, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, my final thoughts is just that stay in the moment and do the things that are most difficult to do. The things that you don't want to do are the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
Try to break through the initial resistance of doing them. Like, for example, and it might not be just anything to do with creativity or music or exercise or spiritual practice or anything. It could be something like, for me, it's like cleaning the fucking bathroom, cleaning my toilet.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you refuse to wipe, you probably smell like poo. It's something that you don't want to do. Just do it.
Yeah.
Clean the bathroom.
Just watched a little short by Kevin O'Leary there. Sometimes, he has good advice. He says, we all have things that we hate to do, that we don't want to do, that we know we need to get done. And a good strategy to get those done is, take the biggest thing that needs to get done and do that first thing in the day when you've got all your energy and all your momentum for that day going, and get that done. And then, you're smooth sailing for the rest of the day. So I'll try that tomorrow. I'll get up and I'll go and clean the fucking toilet. First thing, as soon as I get up, that's the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow is clean the fucking toilets. And Zorananda, I want you to call me and say, "Did you clean the toilets this morning?"
That's my weekly check. That's my weekly check-in with John. Hey, John.
Yeah, and that's the next thing I want to leave you with is, have someone who can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Because, like, I do some day trading, and there's a trader called Trader Tom, and he makes a good point about that. He says, as traders, we don't have somebody sitting watching over our shoulder like the traders at Goldman Sachs or these big institutions. We don't have a compliance manager standing over our shoulder and saying, "Okay, John, I think you've done enough damage today. You've lost us $2 million. So, time to take a break." So they pull you off the trading desk, right? We don't have that in our life, but we can certainly have someone that we're working together with on a project or whatever to help keep us accountable, or whether even if it's our yoga teacher or whoever, in whatever thing that we're trying to progress in, to keep us accountable. In that, this is my goal. Short term, do short term goals. Like I want to go from XYZ to XYZ ABC to the next level, and be there to support each other. When you're accountable to somebody else, then it's going to increase your performance. But make sure that you don't resent being accountable.
Yeah.
Because if you start resenting being accountable to somebody, then that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that's how it's been for me. Like, you've put me on the spot to see how I would take on being accountable. For if I'm going to tell you, like, okay, I'm going to, like, learn these things on guitar, I'm going to learn these things with my voice, that I stay true to it. Because, like, when I started working with you, you had someone else that I'm not going to name the person, but there's someone else that you were recording with that eventually just, like, couldn't be accountable,
Mm-hmm.
And just because of lifestyle and whatever.
And that, I want to address that a little bit too, it has to do with expectations.
Yeah.
Don't have expectations set so high that you're setting yourself up for failure, right?
Yeah.
And
that was the thing, like, that was the fear that I had. I asked myself that, like, okay, doing this album, and learning all these new things, am I setting myself up for failure? And the answer was, like, yes and no, where I was going to experience small failures that would help me understand how I maintain accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I don't see the small failures as some big failure, because we'll conflate things, I just made sure I wasn't conflating things, that if I still wasn't grasping, like, the ear training, if I still wasn't grasping, like, some of the theory stuff, that I saw them as small failures along the way. That, I just gave myself the benefit of doubt, like, what, it's going to take me a little bit more time. And it worked out amazing, because then came out of it on the other end, and we have music done. Like, that's the important thing. We have music done. We did it. And now it's getting it out there. And then now it's like making more and refining and refining and refining. And like the accountability is actually going to help you with refining for sure.
So on a final note here. And thanks, Zoran, for having me on there.
Yeah, you're very welcome, man. Tell everybody just like where they can find you. You have your website.
Atonicmusic.com. It's not a site that is for commercial use. You can listen to and download tracks there. It's my music publishing company's site, and it's primarily there for music supervisors to look for music that they want to put in films or TV and advertising and that sort of thing. And I have several artists there, Zoran being one of them, signed to that company, to my publishing company, and represent them for sync licensing, which is sync license is a license that a film or TV production needs to purchase from the artist through the publisher to put that music in film or TV or advertising. And there's some most of what's on there has been released also for commercial purposes by the artists themselves, and there's some stuff on there that hasn't been released commercially, like some of my original orchestral music that I write, and a few other projects.
And then
and there's no you don't have to pay anything to listen to any of the songs on there, again, because it's not for a commercial purpose, a retail commercial purpose. And I also have a SoundCloud account that I haven't really done anything new on for a long time, John Atonic on SoundCloud. And there's my YouTube channel, John Atonic. And then there's atonic.soundhaus is my Instagram handle.
And I would say if you're local, or if you're looking for affordable production, go to his Instagram and message him. And because that's where we recorded everything, in his studio. I would say if you're looking for a final mixed and mastered song that we did, you can go to my Spotify or Apple Music and look up the song Favors. So look up Zorananda, look up Favors, and you'll get a good sense of what we do and what John is capable of doing and putting.
Yeah, and the mixing together for that song and the rest of the songs that were being released are being mixed by my son Ryan, who's also a mixing engineer and is in a band called King Theory, playing guitar, and also has put in quite a few hours of education into mixing engineering and the whole production cycle and processes, and he's like part of our team as well. And,
Ryan's great. Yeah, super looking forward to the future and what we got going. So thank you everybody for listening. This was a show of improvisation and some shenanigans, and some really good conversations and bits on what it means to have a spiritual practice. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Can I just tell a joke? Finish off with my joke. I had a dream last night that I made up a joke in my dream, and then I woke up and said, well, is that even a thing? And what was it again? Yeah, it was Joe and his buddy Bob were walking down the street, and Bob says to Joe, "Hey, let's go for coffee," and Joe says, "Nay, Bob." "Nay, Bob."
And that's where Joe turned into a horse.
And I thought, is there such a coffee named Nabob? And I looked up. Yeah, of course there is. And it was like buried in my subconscious mind from when I was a kid. I think my parents used to drink Nabob. Anyway.
There's your cheesy joke.
Yeah.
All right.
I got another one, but a guy who just got a divorce and has a son on the weekends kind of thing, and asked the son, hey son, like, does my ex-wife, does she miss me? Like, and he says, well, I have to be honest. She does miss you, but her aim's getting better.
Jesus. Well, John will be doing stand-up at the Comedy Cellar downtown at 7 p.m. tonight. If you'll believe it, you can come down, folks, and check out John Atonic. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Have a good day wherever you are. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy.